Why haven't you done this earlier? Why did you do a documentary after you punched the guy and have it released on ring night? I had way more questions than I had answers. When your window presents itself in sports, you almost have to run through it and seize the opportunity. Otherwise, you look back with the woulda, coulda, shouldas.
But where's the money coming from when it comes to the Golden State Warriors? They're going to take on the Celtics today. We're talking to Jermaine Wiggins at their WEEI in Boston. He's a big Celtic fan. We'll ask him about the playoffs and Mike Vrabel and what he's seeing from the Celtics. Because the Celtics, they are a very predictable team. They remind me so much of the Houston Rockets of the late 2010s when it's just threes, frees, and layups. They don't shoot the mid-range. They jack up over 50 threes a game. They're a very predictable offense, but they're more likable than those Houston Rocket teams, right? Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni kind of got on our nerves with all the talking they did, and James Harden with all the flopping. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were more likable. Drew Holiday's a likable player, but they play like the Rockets. Very, very predictable. Just watch the game today. You'll see what I'm talking about. But how did people feel with Jordan Poole back in the building?
All I kept thinking watching the game was the woulda, coulda, shoulda, and where everything went wrong. Now, like, again, and I don't think anybody, even if, like, I consider myself probably a bigger Jordan Poole fan than most. And I know you would probably align more with where I'm coming from. And it's like, I never thought that he was some perennial all-star yearly, but I certainly didn't think he was a scrub. And, yeah, he's terrible on defense. There were 3 or 4 occasions, especially in the fourth quarter, where he just falls asleep off ball. And the next thing you know, GP2, who he ended up getting switched on, is like, yep, I'm going to slide right here. Let me go right up and up and in. And how about GP2 untying his shoes? I mean, that was pretty funny. I got a kick out of that. But more than anything,
that was fun.
Watch how the rest of the Warriors, not named Draymond Green, react to Jordan Poole. And I don't know how many people picked up on this, but clearly those guys really like him. And I think that matters to me, as we want to, like, crush a 23-year-old or a 24-year-old for being too confident in the ultimate, like, young guy confidence era. Like, go to a 6th grade basketball game and watch a bunch of kids play, 6th graders, who all think that they're him. They're Himothy. That's what they all think. They're pointing to their ice in their veins, and they're doing the 3, and they're doing the he's too small. And we're mad at Jordan Poole, who's averaging 20 in the league for being arrogant. Well, I mean, do you understand the type of arrogance that's required to play in the NBA?
Well, that's why the last 2 years has gotten on my nerves. I'm talking Warriors basketball, talking about who's got a bad attitude and who doesn't have a bad attitude. You know, Jordan Poole's attitude that year was directly related to what happened in training camp. And how can you get over that? So, fortunately, and I'll reveal some of the things. After the game, after the post-game show, I walked back in the arena, grabbed some stats, catching up with some people. And Jordan Poole, they were having like a free throw shooting contest with all the fans. Guys, check your phone. I want you to pull this sound here from Jordan Poole. But after the game, they were having like a little free throw contest with the fans. They're letting fans go on the court and shoot free throws, so we're having some fun with that. And then I look down, and there's Jordan Poole and his family. So I walk up. I go, hey, Jordan, man, because he had 2 threes.
As in his family, he's not married, is he?
He's not married. So it's like
mom,
dad, family, close friends.
You don't have to
he had his
disclose.
contingent.
I was just curious.
His contingency. Yeah. It's like 15 deep.
He's got buddies.
He got, there was a lot there.
I know there's a photographer, J Squared from
J Squared was there.
From Reardon, who's very tight with him.
I ran into J Squared. I see J Squared all the time. He lives around. He lives by me. We're like neighbors. I ran into him at the Molly Stones.
That's great work.
But J Square and G Baby, who's Jonathan Kuminga's photographer, I always joke with them. I look at them. I was like, oh, J Square, you're back in the building. You're new buddy now. So those guys are really good dudes, man. Really good dudes. I love J Square, what he's done and what he's had to overcome to get to the point he's at right now. But Jordan Poole's there, and I walk up to him because he hits 2 threes in the first half. Wizards were rolling up 9, and he had 2 threes that went in and out. And I was like, ooh. They go up 12, 13, 15. What's going to happen here? So I walk up, I go, man, those 2 threes that went in and out in the first half. Woo! He goes, here you go. I ended up chopping it up with him and his family for about 10 minutes. And it was obvious to me when I walked away from that moment that he missed being here. And he's like, dude, I still see 3 jerseys here. I said, dude, you have no idea the pool parties that we're having out here. That was a thing. That was the second biggest pop outside of Stephen Curry making threes was Jordan Poole. And the quickness he had to burst to the rack, he was balling. And then I started thinking, how does this look in a league full of ultimate bucket getters where you need offense, because that's what's done in the Warriors since they've started 12-3. Their offense has been awful. Middle of the pack. I got the numbers here. It's been atrocious to watch at times. Steph Curry mentioned stale. And then I started thinking, what if Clay and Poole was here? Obviously, there are some guys who are going to be gone, but what if you had JP and what if you had Clay? Like, Shasky, I ask you right now, outside of Steph and Curry, who are you leaving open on a three-point line on this basketball team right now?
What? I mean, who am I guarding?
Who are you gonna guard on the 3-point line?
Oh yeah, who am I guarding? Yeah, well, I mean, occasionally, Buddy.
Occasionally,
I'm just trying to I'm trying to think of if I'm doing a scouting report.
Right.
It's like Buddy and Wiggins. Again, occasionally, and Wiggins, it's more like I'll let him take the three because I don't want him to drive. I think he's better as a penetrator, attacking the hoop. But I mean, those guys. How many shooters in the league can I name before I get to those two?
Right.
That I fear more. 75, 80, 90. I don't know what the answer is. And again, Wiggins having a good year.
He's having a really good year.
He's
actually had 3 straight games in which he scored at least 20. And he actually saved a game Saturday night because Steph was clearly compromised with the right thumb.
Yeah.
Wiggins was balling.
But if you were guarding Wiggins, just think about it from if you and me were again, if we were he's going to blow by us no matter what. But are you going to take a couple steps back and give him the 3-point shot and not give him the penetration, or are you going to play him super tight? You're probably going to lay off him a little, at the 3-point line, just a little, right? And that doesn't mean he can't shoot the three. It's of the things he does well, that's not going to be what he hangs his hat on.
So basically, you're kind of proving my point.
Which is no one.
You're proving my point. So I brought up Clay a little bit to the Pools, and I was just like, look, at least with Clay, and I know how it ended, which is just silly when people say, well, you had a bad attitude. A lot of people don't even know what went on in that locker room. A lot of guys have bad attitudes. You ever been on the team? CYO, Little League, high school, college. There's always going to be a bad apple at some point. But to put it all on Clay saying he was the ultimate bad apple is just ridiculous. I don't want to go down that road, though. But at least with Clay, you're not going to leave him open on the 3-point line. So where I'm getting to is the spacing on the floor. With Poole, with Clay, you have ultimate spacing for Stephen Curry. And right now, when you're playing these lineups, and actually Looney looks good, and I think the Warriors are probably going to go to the one big lineup at times. At times, you don't have the spacing because you have too many non-scorers on the floor. And so that's doing the Warriors in. You look at their numbers this year, Shasky. Points per game, they're 19th in the league. The Warriors with Steph Curry, 19th in the league when it comes to points per game. Field goal percentage, they're 24th in field goal percentage. 3-point percentage, middle of the pack, 13th in the league. Offensive rating, 20th. And I see Poole cooking. And I'm thinking about what could have been. What could have been? The vision of the 2-timeline, integrating the youngsters with Steve Kerr saying last week, this is a young man's game. And I'm thinking, we had a plethora of young men that could help this team today. And for whatever reason, that's not here anymore. And now we get to Draymond Green. Because here's what Jordan Poole said after the game, and I want to get to Draymond Green.
Yeah, I love those guys over there. I love most of those guys over there. Really good group, really good staff. Shout out to the fans. Saw a lot of 3 jerseys out there, a lot of JP3 jerseys, which is always really cool, and always get a lot of love. Spent some good quality time here, and it's dope to see it appreciated.
And Jordan Poole, I mean, just talking to him and his pops, his moms, everything, he's in such a great place right now, and I was happy for him that he's able to revitalize his career, play at a high level, average a career highs over. I love the guy. I do. He was one of my favorites. And so to see him in a better space was great. But then that comes out. Mark Spears posted a quote. Dalton Johnson had the video. And next thing you know, Draymond Green, and we all thought it was a fake account, but it was actually Draymond Green who tweeted and replied to Mark Spears' tweet saying, I really am sorry. And the regret that he's had now with that situation. And I want to know from Dub Nation, is the apology too late? Do you like the apology? What did you feel? When you read it, what came to your mind? Draymond Green apologized basically saying, I really am sorry about what happened. He told Penny Hardaway earlier this season, but it may be a little too late. And I'm thinking about where the organization is now, where the roster is now. Boy, you could have made it work. You could have made it work with all these guys. The San Antonio Spurs went back-to-back finals, integrating young guys and Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green and Patty Mills and Tiago Splitter. It could work. But Draymond Green tweeted, I really am sorry. Shasky, I know you've been very critical of Draymond Green recently, But what did you think when Jordan Poole said what he said and Draymond Green replying the way he replied?
I thought it was a fake tweet. I didn't think, like, in terms of, like, I thought it was like a fake account. I'm like, because, I get burned on the internet all the time. I'm like, he really felt compelled to tweet at Mark Spears to defend himself? Why now? Why are you contrite now? Why haven't you done this earlier? Why did you do a documentary after you punched the guy and have it released on ring night? Why have you been so defiant about the whole thing? I had way more questions than I had answers. I mean, it's funny to me. I've been labeled a Draymond hater for a long time. And I see what he brings to the table. But the way I view things is it's not all one or the other. Like, Dre's terrible or Dre's the greatest ever. There's gray area, right? He brings stuff to the table. But I think we've reached the inflection point for most fans where all the baggage outweighs the stuff he brings to the floor. And this is clearly another case and another reminder of all the baggage that he brings to the table. Now, on the court, and we're going to get into the whole JP thing, but on the court, he's a great defender. Would we all agree?
Yep.
Okay.
That's not good enough right now.
Well, let me tell you what he's not bringing to the floor. Spacing on offense, team chemistry, availability. He's definitely not empowering all the young players. Clogging up the 4 and the 5 at times for others to play, as in Kuminga, Moody, potentially could have been Klay Thompson maybe playing some minutes at the 4, right? He's bringing more cons to the table than the pros. And now I go back to the Jordan Poole thing, and I'm saying to myself, boy, how guilty does this guy feel? Honestly, how guilty does he feel to have to go out and reply tweet to Mark Spears? I said I was sorry.
I am really sorry.
I'm okay.
Sorry.
Clearly, Jordan Poole doesn't feel that.
Well,
it doesn't matter what Joe Shasky thinks.
It
doesn't.
No,
it doesn't matter what Golden State Warrior fan X thinks. Like, it really, like, if you felt like you apologized and that guy accepted it or whatever, or maybe he didn't accept it, but like, you feeling sorry, that doesn't mean nothing. Like, how many times I've said to my wife, like, oh, I messed up. I'm really sorry. Well, at some point, it falls on deaf ears.
Well, it does. And listen, we've had 2 years to kind of digest this and hijack the season and, talking to Poole and looking at him in his eyes and seeing where he was. Going back to that incident, and I remember that year, and I'll freely admit it. When that incident happened, I said, there's no way they're going back to back in my head. But I said, how do I get through the season and try to help Dub Nation get through the season and enjoy basketball, knowing that there's this big elephant in the room where you got two guys who are probably not going to speak to each other much in that locker room,
in a small
or on that practice court, and you got to fly all across the country with each other. It's just not, it's not good. So the way it was handled, and I don't blame the Warriors for not handling it great because they're a basketball organization. How do you handle a situation like this? But thinking about that situation, because it came to light Saturday, it did. It really got me thinking about everything. It was like, boy, that incident could be the beginning of the end of what we see now with the Golden State Warriors. And I hope it's not the case. I still believe they have some. Look, this stretch they're in right now, let's just be real. This is a season-defining stretch for the Golden State Warriors. It's going to dictate what they do at the trade deadline. It's going to dictate what they look like by the end of the year.
It might have an effect on next year.
Yeah, it will. It's a season-defining. Like, This is a critical stretch. And the last time they had 8 of 9 at home, they went 3-6. Now, this time you have 8 of 9 at home, you know you're going to be without Draymond Green for a while. You're going to be without Jonathan Kuminga for maybe the next week. What happens? You're playing Moses Moody at the 4. But going back to that incident, and I just thought, boy, the Warriors, it was a poor job of handling the situation in terms of, okay, we want to know who leaked the video. We still don't know who leaked the video. I get it. We want to know who leaked the video. But also, I thought the care for Poole, we could have been a little more careful there in terms of just protecting your young assets, saying, all right, man, we moved on to Draymond, got a little punishment in training camp, but he was there for ring night. He didn't miss a game. And the optics of everything that's happened since then, the LeBron James dap up with LeBron and Draymond, and you see Iguodala on the bench doing what he's doing, and the way he was getting side-eyed there. The way the documentary you mentioned got leaked on ring night. which probably we should have just pressed pause on it, just said, let's leave it alone.
It's called tact.
It's not
a good look. Would you agree?
It's not a great look. It's not a great look. And in the way that season played out. And we saw it during the championship year where if you did want to move off of Draymond Green at times, well, we saw in pivotal moments. Game 1 against Memphis, Draymond got ejected. They won that basketball game. Mm-hmm. Jordan Poole and Steph Curry and people forget. I was talking to Jordan Poole about this. I said, dude, I've seen a lot of NBA players in their first postseason just wilt. The guy averaged 17 during it was his first ever postseason.
And it got very physical.
Got very physical. And it was talking. And look, he went through his ups and downs, but damn, he was a net gain when you have Steph, Clay, and Wiggins doing their thing. I'm getting 17 for Poole off the bench. Wow, that's a bonus. But you saw pivotal moments during that series. Looney as a one big gets Dallas. Game 2, Draymond gets in the foul trouble. They come back from the 20-point deficit. They win that series. Game 4, Boston. We know what happened in the fourth quarter. So there was pivotal moments where you said, what does it look like without Dre? You may be able to sustain some things without Draymond Green for the foreseeable future. And then you look at the Lakers series that next year where the incident does happen, Shasky. And what did I say going to the Sacramento series? It's a one big lineup series. One big lineup series. What flipped it? Draymond gets suspended. Game 3, they win. They go one big lineup with Kevon Looney. Wow, the offense is moving. There's a lot of spacing. Wow, Clay's wide open. The two big lineup, that Lakers series, did them in. Anthony Davis is pecking the paint. So at that point, you're thinking to yourself, how do you evolve as a team? Do you still go with the old well, which you have won a lot of championships with, or do you kind of tweak some things and move forward, especially after that incident? And the optics of, we're going to flip Poole for Chris Paul, who's always been a hated Warrior, and he plays a slow-down system. It's probably not going to work.
Gosh.
And you gave Draymond $100 million after that incident, and now here we are in 2025, and in the game with Jordan Poole and the Wizards and Draymond Green, it's Draymond who leaves 3 minutes into the game with an injury, and it's Jordan Poole score 38, and you're thinking to yourself, is Draymond Green going to hold up with his body? And then 2, you got the incident after the game where he's saying, I really am sorry. And it's almost like, you know what? I understand the apology. I understand feeling guilt. But it also feels like, boy, this may came a couple years too late. And I know he's offered more apologies. This isn't the only one. But I think he was basically saying, like, dude, I know I screwed up. I know I screwed up. But the effects it's had on this organization now, Poole's gone. Clay's gone. We have no idea what the team's going to look like next season. They're 21-20. And the one young asset you have in Jonathan Kuminga, and then you have Moses Moody, too, who's going to get some runway here. But also, Jonathan Kuminga, people have been up and down on him because of the position log jam at the 4 spot, the positional log jam you have at the 4 spot. But also, it's kind of, up and down, and minutes been toyed with left and right. And we're in this spot now, and I'm just thinking to myself, it all started with that incident. If that incident doesn't happen, how different does it look? And I drove home that entire night thinking, damn, we had the future in our hands. Yeah, Jordan Poole, who's going to learn from Steph and Clay. And the whole thing, another thing, sorry, I'm long-winded here. The other thing that bothered me, the whole sequence, and I heard it from people on these airwaves over and over again, Clay was jealous of Poole shining. They didn't like each other. Yeah, you sure about that? Because Klay Thompson's brother, Michael, worked out Jordan Poole before every single game. And if you think Clay and Jordan Poole had a beef or a problem, you think Michael Thompson would be working out Jordan Poole before the game? No, those guys loved each other. So there's been a lot of fake narratives around the Golden State Warriors over the last couple of years. A lot of lies about a lot of people having attitude problems and egos and saying that certain people deserve this and certain people deserve that. Nah, man, that incident may have been the beginning of the end of this current core of the Golden State Warriors, and I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But watching Jordan Poole doing what he was doing, and what he's done this season, even though they're losing a lot of games, and looking at my old vets, and I'm saying, damn.
It's interesting. My dad used to say to me, you don't burn bridges. And how you treat people on the way up is how you're going to be treated when you're on the way down. And so when it comes to Draymond Green, I have very little empathy. I just don't. I don't have a lot of empathy for him. I don't think he's been the greatest teammate. I don't think he's been the greatest employee, because at some level he is an employee. I think he's been defiant at every single turn. I think he's failed to acknowledge his own shortcomings. None of us is perfect. No one asks for you to be perfect. And we made a lot of excuses for him. And it just feels like with a lot of the fan base, the jig is up. And it feels like a lot of people are starting to see it for what it is. And you and I have talked about this. We knew this day was coming. I said to you, how many years ago did I say, come on, B, you know one day when they divorce, the Warriors and Draymond, it's going to be ugly. And it feels like we're in it right now.
Yeah.
And then to see Moses Moody get opportunities at the 4 and for the coach to come out and say, boy, he's got some opportunities here at the 4 and we really like him at the 4. I'm thinking to myself, I put both my hands up and I'm like, have I not been screaming to the high heavens? Kuminga's a 4. I don't know about Moody. I never really thought Moody.
Well, I think the Moody playing him at the 4 is, we've talked about his lateral quickness, athletically or whatnot. Maybe he's not ready to guard guards. But if you get him down with his body, his strength, lower body strength, you play him at the 4 defensively where you're not guarding guys who's got the ball in their heads. Maybe they're just on the three-point line or whatnot. Maybe it's an easier role for Moody defensively. And then offensively, if you're playing him at the 4, and if a big happens to be guarding him in a cross matchup, well, he's going to have an advantage offensively. So, yeah, when it comes to Draymond Green, and I'm just looking at the numbers here. I'm keeping it basketball, stylistic.
Yeah, but on the basketball court,
basketball,
all he's bringing to the table right now is defense, and he's not healthy.
Well, I don't know, because I don't even know about defense. Because right now, obviously, he's not healthy. And when I saw Jaime Jaquez drive by him twice during that game against Miami during the last homestand, I said, damn, Dre's not moving well at all. And now you look at his shot, which he got off to a hot start from the three-point line. Now he's shooting 30% from 3 since December 1st. He's not the only one struggling from 3, but he's shooting 30% from 3, 39.5% from the floor, and you're not getting the rebounding numbers that you usually get. So it is a dilemma here. And I think stylistically, from just a basketball standpoint, you have to evolve in some way. You can't have guys in a triple threat position or not in a triple threat position, not looking at the basket. And there's Draymond's not the only one. You've got a team where you got a lot of specialists on this team.
But like going back to the on the court, at times GP2 is your 4 offensively.
Yeah, and he's in a dunker role. At
times Jonathan Kuminga is your 4. At times, and to a way lesser degree, Kyle Anderson's your 4, right? I thought this is going back a couple years. I thought at times, not for the whole game, you could have played Klay Thompson at the 4. I actually thought that was a better fit for him on offense for this team. Now, defense, you mix and match, and we'll figure it out.
Klay Thompson has good lower body strength.
Exactly.
And he can play the 4 defensively. I've seen him guard guys. I've seen him guard guys down on the block and hold his own for the most part. But for the most part, it's not going to work out defensively if you do it all game long. But in spurts, you can get away with that.
So when Dre is playing the 4, it makes things complicated. And then if Dre is playing the 4, who you have at the 5 is extremely important, and who you have at the other 2 spots outside of Curry is extremely important for spacing. So there's always going to be this spacing vortex, right, when it comes offensively. Then I think about team chemistry. I mean, come on, guys. Let's just, come on. Yeah, okay, Curry and him have great chemistry. There's more to chemistry than do I pass well. It's all the other stuff. The temperament on the floor is very, very important. And then I think about, all the other guys that can get options and get looks and stuff. The time has been here, and I've been here for a long time. Dude, it's addition by subtraction. Look, he's a great player. He's an all-time player. They don't win any championships with him. All of that is true. If they're ever going to win anything moving forward, you got to move them. It's time to go. We've been here. I've been here for a while. It seems like a lot of people are on my page. And then I just think about what happened with Jordan Poole. It's like, guys, the time is now to just remove the Band-Aids. If you want to move into the next era, and the Warriors are going to make any kind of movement, not just this year, but for the next couple years, it's addition by subtraction.
Well, I do know I heard from a lot of fans last year, and 408, this is not true.
What's that?
He said Poole did want a bigger role, and it sucks since we would have had that role with Klay departing from the team. No, Poole was happy here. That's the thing, that this misconception, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know where this stuff comes from, because I'm in the weeds every single day when it comes to this organization and this team. And so people who don't who don't cover the team or don't go to have locker room access, or just random fans who are saying things, I get it. Everybody has a right to their opinion. But Poole was good. As long as Poole, a lot of these players, they'll bitch and moan maybe about not being in the starting 5, but as long as they're seeing 30 minutes a game and they're playing in pivotal moments of a game, they're good. They're going to be good. If they're contributing to winning and getting minutes, they're fine. And so Poole was fine in his role. He knew the drill, let the Splash Brothers cook. He grew up watching the Splash Brothers, for crying out loud. And think about all the young guys you did have on the team. that looked up to Steph. Like, that's the thing. This is Steph Curry, which is why I don't want to trade him, which is why I want him to be a lifelong Warrior. That's why I think he's worth every single penny of whatever contract he gets. I don't care. But they all looked up to Curry, whether it was Wiseman, Potts, Poole, for a lesser extent, Clay, who was here after Steph Curry. And Steph was like the big brother saying, hey, it's you and I show now that we traded Monte Ellis. This is our show now. So when it comes to Draymond and it comes to everything that happens, this is the natural evolution of a basketball team and the style that you play. Now, does Draymond fit with the style that you play right now? Steve Kerr really trusts this guy. But I did wonder, what would it have looked like with Poole and Clay? What would it have looked like when you got Spacey on the floor and bucket getters? Because I swear to God, the NBA to me is an offensive league.
Yeah.
People say defense. Yeah, you need stops. Obviously, you need 3 stops in a row at times. You need to play some defense. You need to contest. But really, the Warriors have a top 10 defense when it comes to the rating and the stats. Their offense stinks right now. And it's a bucket-getting league. Can you get a bucket in crunch time? Can I get guys who could dribble, drive, penetrate, and blow past your defender? Well, Jordan Poole can. And he always has been. And you lost that for CP3. And I understand you couldn't have those guys in the locker room, so they basically chose the 4-time champ over the 1-time champ. I get that. But, boy, it doesn't look good. The optics doesn't look good. So, again, you get Draymond Green bringing light to the fire again, where Jordan Poole says, hey, let Jordan Poole say what he says. He loves most of the guys over there. We understand what he said.
Yeah, but the Warriors will never be able to move on until they move on.
No doubt about that.
But it feels like it's lingering over everything.
But what I'm getting to, though, is Draymond Green replying on the tweet. It's like, we don't need to bring light to this again. Now, Draymond Green is a grown-ass man. He can do whatever the hell he wants to do. Who am I to say that?
Yeah, but his actions have repercussions.
But the tact where it's like, gosh, man, 2 years later, I get you trying to apologize, but you understand that young man went through that year was atrocious. So for me, I just have empathy for Jordan Poole. I'm not even looking at Draymond Green. I'm looking at Jordan Poole saying, how many people talk smack about him that year? Even Saturday night, I ran into some fans who are like, well, Jordan Poole deserved it. He was a little. It's like, man, what if somebody punched you at your job? Would you be able to go to work every single day? Now, I know myself. I'll speak for myself here. I wouldn't be able to work with somebody. It was hard for me to work with somebody who cursed me out at this damn station for crying out loud. Now, let alone punch me. Yeah, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. So I understand why Jordan Poole was unhappy that season. You wake up, you're in the social media era, you pop on the Instagram, guess what's being played? You getting socked in the face over and over and over. Hell, he's an NBA 2K player. Jordan Poole loves video games. He logs on the NBA 2K, or you log on the Instagram and an NBA 2K, that got your player profile, you got a black eye. How's that gonna make you feel?
It's ridiculous.
So who he had a bad attitude, and you blame him? So that's where
he had a bad. Draymond has a great attitude.
I mean, it is just.
Honestly, like, what are we doing?
It is just, it's wild, man. But I do want to know how Dub Nation feels after watching that game Saturday. You guys say the Masters is the best weekend in sports of the year. There's nothing to beat what we just saw this past weekend between the Ravens and the Bills, the Eagles and the Rams, the Commanders and the Lions, and, of course, the Texans and the Chiefs. What a weekend of sports. And you heard right there, Jim Nantz, Mark Andrews dropping the 2-point conversion. Remember earlier in the fourth quarter, he fumbled the ball at midfield when Baltimore was going in for the lead. And it's simple, folks. Football, we have all these numbers of and analytics of CPOE and DVOA. Football's a simple sport. Take care of the ball, block, tackle, make your kicks, catch the ball. It's a simple game. It's a simple game. And you saw Baltimore yesterday, the mistakes did them in. Buffalo didn't do anything. They took care of the ball. Lamar fumbles. He throws a pick. Andrew fumbles. He drops a pass. And the Bills are in the AFC Championship game, taking on Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs advance to their 7th straight AFC Championship game, which is absurd to say. 7 straight AFC title game appearances. And on the other side, you get the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the upstart Washington Commanders and everybody's darling, Jay Daniels. What up, Shasky?
Oh, poor Mark Andrews. I mean, this is the all-time franchise leader in touchdowns for the Ravens. Had a career high in touchdowns this year with 11. And he's going to be remembered, at least for the time being, as the guy that not only dropped the 2-point conversion, but the horrible fumble in the middle of the field. And I know Lamar's going to wear it for the interception, obviously, and then the scramble around on like the botched
snap.
Yeah, shotgun snap, and then he running around and he was explaining it in the post game about, hey, it's an RPO, linemen are downfield, I can't throw the ball, but I'm trying to make a play, but I shouldn't, and I just can't turn it over. And your point on turnovers, look, Kyron Williams fumbled.
Yep.
The Rams could be looking themselves right in the eye.
Huge fumble.
Obviously, Jared Goff, tons of turnovers.
Oh, my gosh.
I look at the Texans, and I go special teams. It's all of the little things, and they add up to the margins are so razor thin. And this brings me to my number one point. When your window presents itself in sports, you almost have to run through it and seize the opportunity. Otherwise, you look back with the woulda, coulda, shouldas. And I think about like whether it's the Warriors winning that first championship, whether it's the Chiefs winning their first championship, the San Francisco Giants winning their first championship, New England seizing the moment. Look at all the dynasties, the teams that won multiple championships. If they don't get that first one, do they get the second and the third? And I go through like the Detroit Lions, and I'm thinking this morning, like, they had the opportunity last year, and then they were awesome this year. Awesome. And we know all the injuries. And it's like, I don't think they're done. But, boy, it just gets harder and harder, and the monkey on the back gets bigger, and the boulder gets stronger. And, God, it's just harder to get from the bottom of the mountain all the way to the top.
No, it is. It's well said. And Jared Goff, look, when you think about him trying to knock the door down. Now, you have the Detroit Lions organization that's trying to knock through the door, and they had a great season. Last year, NFC Championship game appearance, you blow a 24-7 lead. You may never get over that. A 24-7 halftime lead, which makes me think twice about Aaron Glenn right now as a D coordinator trying to become a head coach. But then you go to the NFC divisional round, you're the number one seed in the league, in the NFC, and you're 15-2, but you're decimated. But I look at Jared Goff. Jared Goff, all right, you have this failure this year where you throw 3 interceptions, the pick 6, you got flimsy with the football. He has a tendency to do that. If the pocket's not clean, we always talk about, well, if Purdy needs everybody around it to be perfect. No, Jared Goff is a quarterback example of needing things to be perfect. If things are not perfect, if the pocket is muddied with Jared Goff, you will get a turnover or two. It happens every single week with this guy. Now, he had a spectacular season, but we see it in big moments. He'll come up small. You lose the Super Bowl to the Patriots, 13-3. You lose in some playoff games as Jared Goff. Like, he's got a bigger monkey than I think all these guys in Detroit, because he's continuously trying to prove that the Rams made a mistake in trading him for Matthew Stafford. And right now, Matthew Stafford, even though we lost yesterday, he has a 1 Super Bowl ring that Goff couldn't deliver to McVay and the Rams. And now you go to Detroit with a fan base that is starved, that has never been to the Super Bowl, that was trying to host an NFC championship and God knows when. And you fall short to Jake Daniels and the Commanders, and now they stole your thunder. Everybody's talking about them being ascending and being an NFC power. And now the Lions have to regroup at your dream season. Yeah, it is tough. And that window does not stay open for very, very long.
No, it doesn't. And, the Jared Goff thing, the guy played so good this year. Anybody that watched him was like, wow, this is like the best version of Jared Goff we've ever seen. He throws that interception and gets rocked. Just completely rocked. Now, let's call it what it is. It's not like he looked great prior to getting rocked, but he looked even worse afterwards. And clearly, the turnovers just completely did them. I'm convinced they weren't going to be able to stop Jaden Daniels simultaneously. Yeah. Not that Goff wasn't a big part of. They needed to score 50 in that game to
they were not stopping. They were not stopping Jaden.
I think we're watching. I don't know. Like I don't pretend like I watched the NFL since the 1940s, but it feels like one of the greatest rookie performances of all time in terms of what we're watching in the playoffs. I think of Andrew Luck and RG3, and I know there's been other guys. His command at the line, pre-snap, the calmness, the moxie, the poise, and then post-snap, he gets no jitters. Yeah, he misses a couple layups, like the short throws here and there, but his ability to not put the ball in harm's way and then rifle balls downfield, throw balls with touch downfield, to understand that whole RPO, like tuck it, keep it. He's awesome.
Well, there's a throw he made.
Jesus.
There's a throw he made. It was 24-21, second quarter. And the Commanders obviously have the momentum. Even on the Lions, it came back down to score. It's 24-21. And he throws a ball to De'Ami Brown from the left hash to the opposite side of the field. And I said, and that was the moment right there. I said, oh, okay, we're dealing with something different here. When you make a throw like that.
It was unreal.
You go opposite hash, and you let it fly, and it's a 40-yard play to De'Ami Brown, and it hits him right in the stomach over a double team, like a rainbow. The pot of gold was De'Ami Brown, and he hits the pot of gold. Bullseye. And that play right there, I said, okay, not only do Bear fans have to wake up thinking, did we draft the wrong guy? Were we foolish to be all in on Caleb? Because he was unequivocally number 1 overall pick. Nobody had any question marks about it. And now I'm thinking to myself, oh, this guy is going to be a star at the nation's capital. He's going to sell all type of jerseys. Now you see why Brendan Ayuk was all over Jaden Daniels and wanted to play with him. Hey, kudos to Ayuk. He saw the vision. He saw the vision with this kid. We have the one. This guy is already catapulted. I have him in top 6 right now, quarterbacks. I want to see him get hit a little bit. I want to see the physicality and stuff like that. I don't want to go crazy, but that throw right there signaled, oh, he's different.
Would you agree that this is why you got to watch the games, right? And when you see him get to the line of scrimmage and he's basically pointing everything out like he's a 10-year starter, that to me is like, okay, from the neck up, this guy is unbelievably impressive.
What was it, week 2, week 3? Cincinnati, Monday Night Football. He's basically airing out Cliff Kingsbury's like, get the play in, dude. Let's go. He had to check the offensive coordinator. I said, wow, this is a rookie? With the gall? What is going on here? He's telling them late in that game they weren't getting plays in, and they won that game. That's kind of the coming out part. It was like, wait a minute. You beat Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, what is going on here? But he was going back to Cliff saying, give me the play. Let's go. Come on, let's go. We got to get the play. And I said, wow, he's already taken ownership. Week 3, he's already taken ownership of his entire franchise. And now he's in the NFC Championship game going against Philadelphia for the 3rd time this season. Unbelievable. This guy is unbelievable. That throw to De'Ami Brown, he was already making plays, and we've seen it all season long. That throw in that environment, 24-21, crowd's going crazy, trying to get the Lions back in the game. It's a 2nd and 8 from the Detroit 45, and he makes that throw. I said, yeah, this guy is – we're going to be watching this guy in the playoffs for a long time. Well,
and obviously Philly and Washington, they completely reloaded from last year. Philly significantly better last year than what Washington was. But to do that in such a short amount of time – look, I know we all argue about Brock Purdy and this, that, and the other. Quarterback, when you find that kind of a talent, right, that kind of a guy, it changes everything for your team. It felt like to me, Washington, similar to when Golden State realized that they had Steph Curry, now you're looking at an entire region having hope for the next decade.
No, they have it. I mean, they were dormant for 2 decades. When you and I grew up, Washington was a powerhouse. First time they've been in an NFC Championship game since 1991.
Against Detroit.
Against Detroit. 1991 is the last time they went advanced to the NFC Championship game, and they won the Super Bowl that year. But they've been an afterthought since.
But you and I, when we were growing up, it was the Hogs. You know what I mean? They were a powerhouse brand. Mm-hmm. They just were. And that whole region, D.C., that area, had a huge fan base that was rabid, and they were a winner. They had 3 different Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, and Joe Gibbs, and obviously a fearsome front, and Darryl Green, and they had playmakers, John Riggins prior. But to see them go through all of that horribleness, they draft number 2 overall. They got this old defense and this bunch of random parts. And
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn comes in, and I'll be the first to admit it. I slept on Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn was a hell of a hire. And he said in training camp, this kid's different. And he kept pumping him up. I'm thinking, well, you're putting a lot on this kid's play. And then you watch him play, and you're like, all right, I see it. And he got rocked in the middle of the year. He hurt his ribs or whatever. They had a couple of funky losses.
Yeah.
I watched him against, and I don't pretend like I watched every game, but I watched him against the Eagles. And it was that game, that second game against the Eagles, all right, this guy's next level. And to me, it's all the stuff he does at the line of scrimmage pre-snap and then the composure post-snap. He never looks like he's rattled, and he's not a runner. Like some guys, they're runners, and they look down at the rush, and they take off. One read, take off. To me, he uses his legs as movement, and if you give him a free first down, he'll take it. And then when he scrambles to negate a negative loss, he just goes down.
No, he does. He doesn't get hit.
His feel for the game is unbelievable.
He's so cool. How they beat Philadelphia, we have all week to figure that out.
I don't know.
Because they have a Saquon Barkley problem, and this is why running backs matter. I read something where Saquon Barkley's contract this year, if he was say if he was a wide receiver, he'd be like the 31st highest paid wide receiver.
He got $30 million guaranteed. Guaranteed over the life of the contract.
Gabe Davis is making more money than him this year, and I saw that. And look, we saw it right here with CMC. When the Niners traded for CMC, the impact he had on this offense took off and started averaging 30 points a game. And we noticed how much the Niners missed CMC this season. Philadelphia, after losing Miles Sanders and Ed Clement and Gainwell, but they needed an everyday down back. They needed an every down back. And they scoop up Saquon Barkley, and the rest is history. The breakaway speed, the vision to hit the hole, cut, juke. I don't know how you stop the guy. He's power. He's got everything. Speed, power, vision, cuts. He's durable. And now you look at him in an offense where I was worried about this right off the rip. When he signed there, I said, damn, they got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Now, you have to play two high safeties because if you let those two guys get over the top, you're going to get done. But you can't play 7 in the box against Saquon Barkley because they have the best offensive line in football, led by Lane Johnson. What do you do here with this offense? Well, I think Washington next week, you just try to make Jalen Hurts beat you. You blitz him. You say, Jalen, you're going to have to beat us with your right arm, and we're going to test your knee to see how well you move because you can't allow Saquon Barkley to get comfortable. You can't allow him to start carving you up for 200 yards like he's doing week in and week out, man. What a run he's on. Like, is this season for Saquon better than CMC season from last season? It feels like it.
It might be. I mean, it certainly might be. I don't know where he stacks up in terms, like just talent. Forget like resume, because resume is a different question, right? Like Derrick Henry's resume is significantly more comprehensive than Saquon. Just as a player, as a talent, he's as talented as anyone to play the position.
Yeah.
And like, what's the hole in his game?
Doesn't have a hole in his
That's
game.
what I'm saying.
Maybe question his hands at times. Maybe.
I mean, even then, he's okay. Okay, fine.
Maybe I'm just nitpicking. I'm not. He can catch.
Pretty good catcher out of the backfield, but like. I go back to the New York Giants beat, and I know they had different options and they had different things. You lost the best player in your organization for nothing. Mm-hmm. And it's the way it went down on Hard Knocks with the owner coming in and saying, he's one of our most popular players.
Right.
I would have a hard time sleeping at night if he goes to our division rival. And not only does he leave you for nothing, he goes to the Eagles. Right. And now they're in the NFC Championship game. You're drafting. What are they drafting? 4th? 5th?
Third.
What are the New York Giants?
Who knows?
Third overall.
Who knows?
I mean, I would have fired Joe Shane on that transaction alone. I know that it's deeper than that when you want to keep or retain someone. But I'm looking at the Giants and I'm saying, what the hell were you doing?
It's just dumb football.
Why did you give Daniel and this, quarterback money? Why did you give Daniel Jones that money at the expense of someone like Saquon Barkley? Look. As a fan of football, I'm glad he's in the playoffs because I think now we all get to appreciate him, right? So as a fan of the game, similar to like Shohei being in the playoffs, like, hey, as a fan of the sport, I love that he's on a winner. Like, I love that Bryce Harper's on a winner. Like, I get that for the sport's viability. But in terms of asset retention and how to allocate funds, Joe Shane, get out of here, dude. Like, you're never going to be able to live that one down.
Well, he may not. He may never, especially if Philadelphia wins the Super Bowl. And there was just, remember earlier this season, we were discussing Saquon, and people had this knock that he was injury prone. Well, I'm just looking at his career numbers now. He had the 2020 year where he missed basically most of the season. What was it, torn ACL or whatever it was? But his rookie year, he played 16 games. Second year, he played 13. Fourth year, he played 13. Fifth year, he played 16. Last year, he played 14. This year, he's played 16. So I don't see where the injury-prone knock has come on. Does he get nicked up here and there? Sure, he's a running back. He's going to take care of the ball. And when you're in the New York Giants system where you have no wide receivers for so many years and you have no quarterback and you have no offensive line. Remember there was an opening night game. I don't know if it was last season or the season before, but the Cowboys came out and beat the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium like 40-0. And Daniel Jones got sacked 10 times. And I'm thinking, why aren't you building around Saquon? Where's your offensive line at? Where's their quarterback? Where's their wide receivers? Make it easier on number 26. Well, he jumps. You play hardball with the New York Giants. You move off from him. Now you found a back in Tracy Jr. or whatever. He's solid, but he ain't Saquon, and he ain't selling the jersey Saquon is selling. And so now he goes to Philadelphia and runs for over 2,000, and he is the X factor in these playoffs in the Final Four. He's the reason why I think Philadelphia is going to win the whole damn thing. Because you can't game plan for him. If you do, well, you got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside with Dallas Goedert. What do you do? What do you do against Philadelphia to slow them down? It's just an all-time nightmare if you're a New York Giants fan to see Saquon leave and go have this success with the Philadelphia Eagles and be knocking on the door of a Super Bowl? Oh, my Lord.
Carolina moved CMC for picks, and they haven't really hit on any of those picks. Derrick Henry walked for nothing.
Yep.
Saquon walked for nothing.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs walked for nothing. All those teams made the playoffs. Now, CMC, obviously, it was hurt, but the year prior, you could see the impact that he ended up having. You can't sit here and tell me vintage OG running backs who can do a little bit of everything aren't in vogue.
Oh.
It's
never gone away, Shasky.
You need weapons on the outside.